It's subject to change. It's discussed at the first joint town council school committee meeting, which is in the middle of December. So we, every year, we walk into that meeting and we say, here's what we're hearing from RIDE. It's subject to change, but this is what that number is. That number is derived from the RIDE funding formula. It's quantitative. So while we can't, proof that exact number, what we can see is that it's consistent with the publicly available data that tells you your, school share ratio, which is this, arcane calculation that they use to calculate the amount of aid. It's consistent with what that number looks like. So in November and December, we can look and we can say, this is what RIDE told us. We look online and we see, oh, that's consistent with this published number. It's subject to change. And then we go through a process, which is really, if you put a clock on it, it's really 6 months, where we are periodically asking RIDE, is that still the number? Are there any changes and stuff? So we're making a little, light of this with kind of gallows humor here, but that difference between June 10th and June 11th really was something significant, because after we adopted our budget and after the town appropriated the money, the tax transfer to us, and put a gavel down on their budget, after, both our ability to do anything differently, the House came in with this.
And I would like to add too, Mr. Munoz, I appreciate that. Not only did all of those events occur as you mentioned, we also don't operate in a vacuum. Our superintendent is a member of RISA, the Superintendent's Association, and meets regularly and confers regularly with her superintendent colleagues. Forgive me for speaking for you. Our finance director is a member. We're members of RIASBO.
And on the board too, as well.
On the board of RIASBO, a business officer, statewide organizations. We are, until July 1st, we're members of RIASC. There was no mention of through RIASC. But the point is that we are also in the loop on all of this. And I think the timing was particularly disappointing. And I think it's important that the community also knows. I've heard little whisperings already, how the rumor mills are. I heard somebody got information from our town saying that the League of Cities and Towns knew about this, so we should have known about this beforehand. Neither of those things is true, to my knowledge, and I would just ask anybody who has questions about the school district budget, reach out to school officials. This is not something that we need to propagate rumors around.
Yeah, and I mean, all the channels that we, use and depend on, which are the appropriate channels, especially between the Department of Education and the schools, we didn't know about this. So, I think the bottom line is and the town didn't know about it either. And, so this is just this is an unforeseen event. The town has been terrific in responding and advocating for the schools. We really appreciate that. Every member of this body has, been fully activated and engaged. At the end of the day, there'll be a later time for comment on the motivation and, what lies behind this and stuff like that. But we're fortunate to get 20% of the money back. Barrington, there are 3 school districts which are adversely affected: Barrington, Smithfield, and ourselves. And each of them got a 20% restoration from the House Finance Committee, and that budget was approved on June 16th. The Senate Finance Committee met today to look at the House budget. I don't know what happened, and the Senate votes on the final budget, so it will pass the General Assembly on Wednesday. But anyway, long story short, we didn't know about this. So, these were assumptions, but these were about as hard-coded assumptions, which had been carried forward for a long time, which were consistent with all the indicators, that would tell you whether that number is accurate, whether it's in the right range and stuff like that. And this is a huge cut. I mean, there's no two ways about it. This is a huge cut.
And the other 2 communities were caught just as off guard
Yes.
as we were.
Absolutely. I've had